Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, that podcast that opens up the opportunities and possibilities that spirituality can bring to you in your everyday life, whilst removing some of the woo-woo that we see on social media these days. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about how important grounding yourself and mindfulness are going to be in the coming couple of months globally, as well as giving some in-depth predictions for the coming months, especially March and April. I took myself back onto social media this week. God, sometimes I wish I didn't do that. You'd think I'd know better. Oh, jeez. I can deal with the trolls. You know, I give backhanded information, etc. But I don't know why they bother following me or watching me. And if you're a troll that's made a snarky comment saying things like, "Why should we believe you? You got a big prediction wrong," then you know nothing about spirituality and you haven't paid attention to my content. And I'm going to leave that at that. However, my Patreon is popping off. We will say a big shout out to our new Patreon members very shortly. But if you do not know and have not been or have not joined my Patreon, now I do try and put free content up as the demands on me and the catch up from having surgery and recovering get better. I will be able to do more content that will go across to the tube of you and my Patreon. I like short form. I love answering questions. I love educating about spirituality. But the cunts out there just drive me insane. I'm sorry if that word makes your toes curl, but there is no other word to describe them. And this is the year of growth. If you do not understand that, if you are not self-aware, if you cannot understand how important it is to become self-aware, then you are going to struggle. I have said that for a really long time. My 2025 predictions are still for sale in my shop. They go up pretty much until probably the next couple of months. And I will then be releasing those to the public. But what I will be doing is those that have already purchased them will be getting a new video from June or, May, June until the end of the year. That's how I wanted to do it this year. So you're going to get a couple of extras if you have purchased it. So don't worry about that. And I will be sorting that out in the coming weeks. It has been a bit busy. For those of you that love Buffy, my precious, precious American staffy, who I adore more than probably my own kids at times, he's really, really poorly. 18 months ago, he was diagnosed with what they thought was a thymoma in his chest cavity. I took him to Melbourne. We did CT scans. Blood work was normal. They could not, no matter how they tried, get a biopsy because it went behind the lung and it was dangerous. We, knowing what Buff's been through, he's had TPLO, he's got severe allergies, he's got gastritis, he's got colitis that we manage on a day-to-day basis. So he's a poorly boy and he is only 5. He's turning 6 in June. We decided not to have the surgery. Now, it wasn't a financial decision. We are very well insured for Buff. I'm an economist. I'm always insured. And it was more to put him through it. They would have to basically open up his chest, break his chest bone and open him up. And our vet, not the vet that operates on him, said, look, A lot of dogs don't survive that surgery. They get sick, they get infections. He is weak. I don't advise it. I advise you to give him as much love and care as you possibly can. We don't know what it is. We will keep an eye on it. And we all decided that it didn't exist. We kept treating him for allergies, etc. He's been on steroids every other day, just a low dose to keep things at bay. And he got very, very sick about 3 weeks ago with colitis, and he's now got, well, we're not sure whether it's part of an ongoing issue or whether this is new. The lining of his stomach is at 11 millimeters and it is supposed to be only about 4. He got a high dose of steroids. We thought that was working, and he went downhill again today. So all of those wonderful people that have appointments with me or have had appointments with me in the last couple of weeks where I've had to move your date, or can I do it on this day instead of that? It's because I've had to do emergency trips to the vet. I'm sorry. It is what it is. And I had the same thing happen again today. Alicia, my wonderful assistant, always reaches out and check and sends emails if that's the case, or I will text to let you know that Alicia is going to contact. Sometimes I don't get a chance to do that. If it happens in the next couple of weeks, I'm really sorry. It's shitful. It is. I wish I could think of better words for it. He has a procedure happening on Tuesday next week for which we've had to remove a lot of his medication to have that procedure. And we will see what we've decided. What we find there will decide on our decision. And I'm very, very sad, and it is traumatizing, and he is a member of our family. And he is very, very much loved. And I know that you guys love him a lot too. But that's why I've been a bit higgledy-piggledy, and I'm sat recording at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night to make sure this comes out. Whilst he was in here. He was in my studio, lying in the sun, and then he suddenly, as soon as I said, "Oh, I'm just going to sit and record whilst you're lying there happily," he just looked at me in disgust and took himself to lie in my bedroom on my bed. He's not the most of loving dogs at times, but he's in pain, so I totally I'm not very loving when I'm in pain, to be fair. Anyway, that's my rant of this week. Thus, the messages I have for you this week are all about grounding, mindfulness, how to help yourself. Over the coming months, I have tried to very gently inform people that there is a shit show coming down the pipeline. And many people will say, I am eliciting fear. I'm actually trying to prepare you and get you ready. It's not just about practical help. It's about mindfulness and grounding. I do not like instilling fear. And I wish I had messages of rainbows and unicorns coming in the next month. But sadly, not even the aliens are coming to rescue us. Again, I'm disappointed there's no probing. Life is chaotic. I've just done a 5-minute diatribe about my own life, and I have an amazing life. I am not in danger. I do not fear. I get to work from home for the most part. I have a wonderful family, and I have an amazing dog and amazing friends and support. And you guys, my life still feels at times as if I am overwhelmed. Chaos can be great, and I am trying to embrace it. Not very good at it. I'm a Taurus. I'm stubborn. But when we ground ourselves, we can feel a sense of calm and relaxation, no matter what is going on around us. It does take practice. I always advise people to start practicing when you don't need it. The thing about grounding is very often it's very much like meditation, okay? Not as in they're similar practices, that not one size fits all. For me, I used to find meditation overwhelming. Now, that is a sign that you are getting overwhelmed by the information. You are hitting that need to go past it wall, which I learned. But I found to get what I needed out of meditation, I needed to be moving. I can still quiet my mind when I am moving. I have very different practices to many people. And sometimes when you take part in spiritual workshops or the guru that has a shop front down at the near the supermarket, they all try and tell you to do everything the way that they want you to do it or how they learned. For me, I had to teach myself what worked for me. And I do encourage every single one of you to practice, practice, practice. When you put perfection in the way of progress, and that perfection is based on someone else's reality, then you are cutting off your nose to spite your face. Please understand that meditation is an individual experience. I'm not talking about clearing your mind. I'm not talking about getting messages from spirit. I'm not talking about clearing everything out so that something else can come in. I'm just talking about meditation. For me, grounding is the same. The first thing that you absolutely must do is realize when you are feeling unanchored, when you are feeling scattered or thrown around by everything that is going on in life. When you are jumping from crisis to crisis, from problem to problem, and you cannot recognize that you are overwhelmed, then there's a key for you, okay? Set yourself some guidelines. Set yourself some markers that when you start to feel like X, then you need to look at being grounded. Sometimes people will comfort themselves with the internet, social media, TV, food, alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, everything you can think of that will quench that thirst of grounding. So the first practice is simply just noticing. I'm feeling scattered and chaotic. I'm feeling groundless and unmoored. You can start to notice how frenetic your activity is, how distracted you are. Are you picking up the phone every 2 minutes? Do you put the phone onto charge beside the bed, determined to watch another episode of Game of Thrones or Sex in the City? And within 2 minutes, before the opening credits have even started, you've picked your phone up again. You need to realize that that is you feeling groundless. Once we notice, we can start practicing ourselves. There are lots of ways to practice this. And this is where I say not everything fits everyone. It's really about relaxing with chaos around you and you find what suits you. This doesn't have to be done after a spiritual practice. This can be done at the end of a day. It can be done when you come out of a meeting with that chaotic boss that has thrown 75 projects at you and you have to work, you're starting to feel overwhelmed and overstimulated. Take a breath and ground yourself. So first of all, we're going to pause. Notice how you're feeling. Not the thoughts, but the bodily sensations, how the chaos is affecting you. Perhaps you feel jittery, bit of anxiety, fear, and you don't know where that fear is coming from. Do you feel anxious? Is your mind racing to what you need to do rather than taking a step back. The first thing I want you to do is breathe deeply into your belly, deep and wide. And that allows you to feel bigger. It allows you to feel calmer. Let your muscles relax. Let yourself rest in this feeling of almost euphoria as you let your breath out. You can find some way to connect to the world around you. Feel appreciation for this moment, this time. Feel how the air makes your skin feel. Just stand still, as if you are in stormy waters, as if you are a boat being tossed around and your feet are keeping you stable. Then ask yourself, what would serve you right now? What is the best step that you can take right now that will help you? And then go on to your next project, the next thing you need to do. That is only one way of grounding yourself. Many people try different things. If you want to ground yourself with food, do so mindfully. Not about what you eat. I'm not here to judge your diet. I'm talking about if you're eating a burger, take a bite of that burger. How does it taste? What is the texture of it? How many times are you going to chew it? It brings you back to your reality. I use many, many different tools. Sometimes I find one of the best ways to ground myself after a busy day of readings, or if I have been working with many different clients, is to simply put my headphones in and listen to a podcast. I never hear the words of those podcasts. It is just the continuation of those words that brings me back into the moment. I find words in my ears, it sounds really bizarre, incredibly grounding. I do not like going to shopping centres. I hate lots of people around me, and I find them incredibly overstimulating and overwhelming. And we have some very large shopping centres in Melbourne, and I have an addiction to shopping. Not going to lie, I love shopping, but I don't go very often. If I go shopping, it's once every 3 or 4 months. And I try and do everything all at once. I find just listening to, it doesn't matter what it is. Usually it's a crime podcast. It's just the voice. I never hear the words. If I want to hear the words, I put it on whilst I'm driving. But that grinds me. Can't get my words out. I keep wanting to say grind. I don't know what that's about. That grounds me. That makes me feel calm. You can go outside and walk in grass. That's an old-fashioned way. That's one that many spiritual people find you useful. The feeling of the earth underneath you is supposed to ground you. Some people will hug trees. I've never felt the need, but some people do. It is as simple as hearing your breathing, taking a moment, relaxing into that moment and letting all the overwhelm and overstimulation leave you. Find what works for you, because not everyone is the same. And I am so sick of people saying, I can't because. And that's the only reason for that is because they've been told by some spiritual guru that wears a man bun and an earring through his nose that that's the only way to ground yourself. Grounding yourself is up to you. think about the different things that people do when they are stressed. Some people bake, some people cook, some people wash the car. All of this can help you. As long as you are removing yourself from the chaos, breathing, and moving past the fear. That is the important thing. We're going to take a very quick moment to give a shout out to our newest Patreon members. I say it every week. You guys rock. Patreon supporters pay for this podcast. They are our sponsors. They deserve a round of applause every single week because they make this podcast possible. For my $5 and up members, this month there is a calendar up. It's a pinned post on the Patreon page, which gives you all the dates that I plan to go live on the chats. It gives you the date of the coffee morning. New thing coming out for my Broomstick besties this week. You are going to get a new Q&A for your video this month. What else is happening over there? Coffee morning, the newsletter has just come out. Great topics in the newsletter. I talk about all the different Claires. I talk about making sure that you take care of you. I talk about 2025. I talk about all the curly energy coming in. And there's even some extra predictions there that no one else gets. They are just for you guys. So that is already there. If you don't know about Patreon, click the link in the show notes and that will take you there. You get to sponsor this wonderful podcast as well as lots of other extra goodies. Plus, I'm going to say the community is really helping people at the moment. The community chats, people are getting supported, which is great because some people, they work from home, they need that little bit of extra support. And later this month, there is a new tier being released for those working in the metaphysical world that would like a little bit of extra support. We're going to have an open circle once a month, as well as peer-to-peer support and special chats. So there you go. All right. Thank you. I think it's Tara, but she's put it as Tara. So Tara, Carol, Amy, I love your little, oh my gosh, I was about to say it. Okay. Amy appears to be Canadian. And I was just about to say, Amy, I love your beaver. Far out, Matilda. I love the little animal you've got by your name. Sarah Roberts, Kaida, LT, Tiff, Pomenomenon. Okay, Pomenomenon. Thank you. Maria, who has joined for 12 months. Jasmine, Sophia, Megan, Cabrona, Ali, Patricia, Mary, Rachel, Molly, Gen X 1975, and Trisha. You guys rock. Thank you for your support. It is phenomenal and always greatly appreciated. So let's talk about mindfulness and how important it is for you to become a little bit more mindful. Now, some people will think mindfulness is all about So let's talk about mindfulness and how important mindfulness is for peace of mind. It can bring you back to center when you are feeling overwhelmed. It can help you with anxiety disorder. It can help you really bring your mind into focus instead of thinking about the next thing you need to do. Many things you can do on the run, so to speak. I'm not suggesting you go for a run and do mindfulness, but what I'm talking about is if you're in the queue for somewhere and you're getting frantic and overwhelmed because you're waiting or you don't want to wait. There are many, many different exercises you can do. Pick something that you can concentrate on. Whatever it is, an object in the room. I have my Stanley here, my trusty Stanley, and my emotional support Stanley. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to examine the colour of it. It's a cream colour, but it's got a very pale lid. It's made of metal. It has a straw. When I put a drink in it, it feels cold. The drink is cold. I'm looking at the shape of it. I'm taking my mind off of what is worrying me, what I have to do next, or what I have to think about next. I am simply examining every intricacy of this cup, what it's used for, what color it is, how it feels when I'm holding it, all of those things, so that I can bring my mind to center. And sometimes that's all we need to do. There's a great exercise for beginners. Many people that practice mindfulness will know about it, and it's called the raisin exercise. In this exercise, you basically take a raisin. How does the raisin look? How does it feel? How does the skin of the raisin respond when you roll it around in your finger? How does it smell? How does it taste? And so many people are going to come at me and they're going to say, don't like raisins. Choose the fruit you like. The other one that is very helpful when we feel under duress is to do a quick body scan. You can be lying on your back, you can be standing up. But I like to, if I really need to, is just lie on my back and put my palms up to the sun. If you lie very still, we then think about the different areas of our body and acknowledge them and feel them. Start with our toes. Wiggle them. How do they feel connected to your feet? How do your feet feel? Are there any parts of your body that are tingling? How do the clothes make you feel? How are you breathing? Are you breathing? That's sometimes one of the easiest ones you can do, but moving up your body, you start with your toes, the bottom of your feet, your ankles, your lower legs, your knees, your thighs, your abdomen, your chest, your lower back, your upper back. All of those things have different feelings and different sensations. How do they feel to you? Mindfulness is simply taking yourself away from the moment you are in to examine something in depth, to bring your mind back to center. So much of that is incredibly important. And it doesn't always have to involve a breathing exercise or it doesn't have to have a special place. It's something you can do on the move. And that is incredibly important to realize that, okay, I'm running from appointment to appointment, or I've got a meeting, I'm standing in a queue, I'm being made to wait, I'm at the airport. All of those things and the news can be incredibly overwhelming. To take a few moments for yourself is incredibly important. Remember, there is a lot going on in this world. It is up to you to learn the best methods for you to cope with the information. And when you feel overwhelmed, take yourself away from the situation, either within your mind or your body, to help you. Okay, let's talk about a couple of things I've seen worldwide. A couple of things I've already touched on. globally. In order for you to be prepared, okay, just a little bit of a heads up. A lot of people have messaged me lately about the cyclone that's about to hit southeast Queensland. I talked about that in December. I've talked about it in January. A lot of the warnings I've had have been around the flooding, the amount of water. I specifically saw Brisbane and the Gold Coast, areas that wouldn't normally flood. And I want people to be aware that, yes, the wind, the cyclone is actually going to be quite damaging. The aftermath and the floods are what concern me the most, as far as people being displaced, the damage that is happening because of it. And it's really important that people are prepared for that side of things above anything else. Globally, the energy is really tough during March. There is this sense that Trump is going to continue to antagonize different nations. He really wants somebody to strike against the USA. As predicted, the stock market is volatile. It will rally. I'm not overly concerned. I do feel like it will rally over the coming weeks. But he wants somebody to strike out against. He wants to push a conflict of some sort. What happened in the Oval Office last weekend with President Zelensky was appalling. And I think that many people have forgotten the signing of the Budapest Agreement, turning around and accusing the person whose land was invaded by the country that signed an agreement not to invade that land in 1994, yet then accusing that person of, if you don't stand down, you are likely to cause World War III. I said in December that I felt Zelensky was going to have to sign over something to do with his or areas of his country. And I do see that. I wouldn't be surprised if Zelensky calls an election or resigns in the coming months due to pressure, because people are sick of living within war. I think there's a high possibility of European troops ending up in conflict during April, May. It feels incredibly volatile during that time. And the threats of nuclear war will feel very close as we hit the end of March. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I think that the US is likely to be the subject of either attacks or threats of attacks on the East Coast mainly? Yes. And I have said that for a long time. Do I know the areas? No, I'm really, really drawn to those capital cities on the East Coast. And if you're in a capital city on the East Coast, then just be prepared. A lot of the food shortages that are going on are because of natural disasters, trade wars, trade agreements. This is 2025. We are in March. This is exactly what I told you was going to happen. Throughout last year, I told you that it was going to be trade, embargoes, transport, all of those things. This is the time to be paying attention to if something's cheap in the shops and it's long lasting, buy it. If you can grow your own things, grow it, so that you are prepared. I've talked about Social Security before and the fact that the likelihood is that there will be a glitch in the system. How I want to liken this to you is anybody that's ever started work for a government agency goes in and they start work and they've got the government computer system, the CRM system, the stuff that keeps all the backlog of files. I'm not talking about an Apple Mac or a Windows. I'm talking about the old computer systems. And we all go, gee, this could be done better. I wonder if XYZ would work, or I wonder if we could change this over. There's reasons it's never been changed over. It's not going to end well. There is going to be computer glitches and distorted information that will end in Social Security being delayed, or it's not going to be a really long delay. But I'm just giving you a heads up. That is aside from the fact that I do see a government shutdown in the middle of the month, even if it's only for a couple of days, because he's about to throw some major temper tantrums in the Oval Office in Congress. He is about to bully people front and center. One of my predictions on Patreon, I put my newsletter up, it has extra predictions in, is that there will be fights on the floor of different governments, like fisticuffs, anger, people throwing punches, that sort of thing. Apparently, it happened in an Eastern European country day before yesterday. I do think it's going to happen in the US. I also see it happening in the United Kingdom. Keir Starmer is going to get into a lot of trouble for a statement he makes around promises that he isn't able to keep. It's going to come out that there are threats being made towards him. And I'm not sure whether that's a threat to his family or a threat to him. Expect volcanic eruptions over the month of March, as well as some major earthquakes worldwide. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacific offshore there were a number of earthquakes, and I wouldn't be surprised if in Washington state there are offshore earthquakes again. There could be some just sort of on that cusp of offshore as well. Please practice your mindfulness. Please practice your grounding. These things are really important for you to manage this energy. We are in March 2025. It's a shit show. It's a long shit show. There is likely also to be another round of aeroplane accidents, small planes, and more connected to the military. I'm also concerned about a Navy vessel or large ship being sunk in an accident, whether that's an accidental delivery of something to it or a shooting, something like that. All right, guys, that's about it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you are interested, there is a 10-person evidential mediumship event. That's 10 people only, capped at 10. Everyone gets a reading. It's evidential mediumship. That is on the 22nd of March. I think there's a few spots left for that. My May appointments for readings are open. Please do not forget that if you are a Patreon paid member of $5 and up, you get some pretty decent discounts, depending on the level you're in, depends on the discount, for personal one-on-one readings. That's about it. I'm really hoping to get together with Laurie Rivers this weekend and do a couple of Sassy Seers episodes, so you get double the amount of me. Guys, thank you. Thank you for all your support. Don't forget to join in the Patreon chats. There's a calendar up there for what is going on in Patreon, and the days that I am in chats are listed. However, I do pop in maybe once or twice a week just for a chin wag and to say hi to everyone. Thanks, guys. Your support is much appreciated. Take care.